I was halfway across the ballroom, gift bag in hand, when I knew something was off. Not just nerves, real tension, like the air itself was holding its breath. My name's Greg. I'm 52, live just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. And up until about 15 minutes ago, I thought I was still married. The event was my wife Amanda's company's annual gala. Black tie, luxury hotel. One of those places where the chandelier costs more than my truck. I showed up in a tailored suit she picked out 2 Christmases ago. Hair combed, shoes polished. I even brought the damn gift. It was a vintage Hamilton watch, rare, from the 60s. Amanda mentioned it once at dinner back in February. I hunted it down through 2 different dealers and had it restored. Wrapped it in a silk box, gold ribbon, the whole thing. I was ready to surprise her. But the minute I walked in, I caught people looking. Not just looking, whispering. 2 guys near the open bar gave each other a look when they saw me. A woman I'd met last year, Sandra something, turned the other way when I tried to say hi. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I pushed through it, told myself I was being paranoid. I was just the husband. These people were all venture capital this, hedge fund that. I ran logistics, built back-end systems, nothing flashy. But Amanda, she was their rising star, CEO, tech darling, the face of the whole operation. I spotted her across the room in a red dress that looked like it belonged on a magazine cover. Her back was to me, laughing with someone. As I got closer, I realized it was Darren, the new lead investor, younger than me by at least 10 years, with that slick, overconfident Wall Street energy. His hand was low on Amanda's back. I opened my mouth to say something, just a casual hello. But then he did it. The bastard dropped to one knee. The whole room froze. Amanda turned toward him, smiling like it was a scene out of a movie. Darren held out a ring, then said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Amanda, it's time you had someone extraordinary, not ordinary." His eyes flicked right at me, laughter, gasps, then clapping. Amanda didn't even hesitate. She said yes, like it had already been rehearsed. Just like that, she was accepting a ring from another man, in front of 200 people. And me, I stood there with the watch in my hand, gift bag crinkled from how hard I was gripping it. I didn't say a word, didn't make a scene, just turned around and walked out. I walked out of that ballroom without looking back, my chest tight and my ears ringing. No one stopped me. No one said a damn word. I guess when a man gets humiliated in public, people figure it's best to let him disappear quietly. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my neck. I didn't even wait for valet. I just kept walking down the hotel steps, past the sidewalk, through the parking garage, clicked open my car, sat inside, and slammed the door. The bag with the watch was still in my hand. My grip was frozen around the ribbon like I was choking it. I drove home in silence. No music, no phone, nothing. Just my mind playing that scene back on loop. Darren on one knee, Amanda smiling, the applause. That smug little line about being too ordinary. I'd been with her for over 20 years. I wasn't extraordinary, maybe, but I was real. I built everything she stood on. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my hands were shaking. I didn't go inside right away. Just sat in the car until the sweat dried and my knuckles stopped throbbing. When I finally stepped inside the house, it felt like walking into someone else's life. The couch, the art on the walls, the little designer touches Amanda added to make it hers. I dropped the gift bag on the counter, took off my shoes, and walked straight into the living room. I didn't turn on the lights. I sat there in the dark for a while, the glow from the street lamp cutting across the floor. I opened the bag, took out the box, and looked at the watch. Beautiful piece. Stainless steel, leather strap, ticking softly like it didn't give a damn about what had just happened. I could have smashed it, could have hurled it across the room, broken every plate in the kitchen, burned her clothes. But I didn't. Not because I was calm, far from it, but because I knew something she didn't. She might have embarrassed me in front of a ballroom full of suits, but I built the foundation she's standing on. Every software system, every patent, every deal with the vendors, me. Amanda was the face, the charm, the networking, but the brains. That was me, always had been. She took the stage, I built the damn theater, and I still had keys to every room. I grabbed my laptop off the coffee table and powered it up. I knew exactly where to start. Our company, Revenlore Systems, was legally registered in both our names, but I handled the tech, the back end, the logistics. Amanda handled marketing and investors. But without my systems running in the background, their whole shiny operation would choke. I logged in using the root admin account. She probably forgot I still had it. It gave me unrestricted access to our financial servers, project trackers, proprietary code, everything. Password hadn't changed. Dumb mistake. First thing I did was pull up the primary financial system. There it was, every dollar accounted for. I scanned through the back-end trails, travel budgets, client meetings in Aspen that never happened, business gifts that cost more than my first car. I bookmarked every transaction. Then I checked the patent registry. My name was still listed as the creator of all 6 software modules we licensed last quarter. Amanda had taken credit for them during interviews, but I filed them personally. Legal signatures, timestamps, all airtight. I started a new spreadsheet, labeling every IP, asset, and revenue stream I built or managed, each one tied to me, not to Amanda, not to Darren. It added up fast. This wasn't petty cash. This was multi-million-dollar territory. The deeper I went, the calmer I got. My pulse settled, my jaw unclenched. I wasn't going to yell or throw things or beg her to explain. I was going to hit her where it would actually hurt. The money, the company, the future. I wasn't done yet, but I'd found the first crack. Now I just had to break it wide open. By sunrise, I was still at the dining table, the screen glowing, papers scattered everywhere. I'd gotten maybe 20 minutes of sleep, head down on the keyboard, dead tired but wired as hell. I poured myself black coffee, burned my tongue on the first sip, and got back to work. Step 1. Make a list. Not just a loose outline, an actual breakdown of every single personal expense Amanda had pushed through the company as business. I pulled records from the last 18 months, private jets labeled as client transport, retreats to Napa and Cabo that got canceled but were still fully expensed, jewelry, handbags, high-end spa memberships, designer furniture for the lake house she said was used for company brainstorming, a $6,000 espresso machine, $78,000 in gift card bonuses that never went to employees. She thought hiding behind vague codes like vendor appreciation would fool me. I built the damn system. I knew what every line meant. Once I had the numbers, I flagged every transaction in our internal audit software, labeled each one with unauthorized and pending investigation. That alone would spook the finance team. Then I went for the accounts, her travel fund, frozen, corporate card tied to her email, deactivated, her team's entertainment budget, locked out with a pending fraud review. Next stop, the investments. She and Darren had been working a new round of funding for something they were calling Project Phoenix, a cloud-based automation platform. Sounded flashy, but it was built off the back of my original blueprint from 3 years ago. They changed the name, slapped on a new pitch deck, and acted like it was a brand new innovation. I logged into our investment dashboard, pulled out my personal stake from 3 of the ventures tied to Phoenix. 2 of them tanked immediately. The third one stalled. I made sure every withdrawal was logged cleanly, no legal gaps. I wasn't trying to destroy the company. I was cutting the cancer out before it spread. Then I took a breath and went for the kill switch. See, there's a buried override in our system, meant for emergencies only. A total financial lockdown across every active corporate account, meant to be used if there was a breach, fraud, or threat to company continuity. I typed in the trigger code. It asked for multi-authentication. I verified with my master key. One more step. The system blinked, then a red banner slid across the top of the dashboard. All accounts frozen until further notice. Admin action required to resume operations. Just like that, no one could access a single dollar. Not Amanda, not Darren, not the finance team. Salaries, bonuses, vendor payments, paused. They'd be scrambling by noon. I leaned back in my chair. The room was quiet. I could hear the birds outside, the hum of the fridge. I should have felt exhausted, or maybe sick to my stomach. But I didn't. I felt calm, in control. Let them panic. Let Amanda explain to her investors why none of their money was moving. Let her lie her way through the next few meetings. Let Darren try to act like he knows anything about system architecture or asset flow. I watched the last confirmation box fade off my screen. Then I shut the laptop and stood up. I wasn't finished, not even close, but I just flipped the first domino. I didn't even make it out of the kitchen before my phone started lighting up. Amanda. Her name flashed across the screen 6 times before I finally picked up. I let it ring long enough for her to sweat. "Greg," she said, voice tight. "Something's wrong with the accounts. I just tried to approve payroll, and everything's locked up." I stayed silent. She kept going. "It's gotta be a bug, right? Some kind of glitch. Darren says we're locked out of the investment portal too. Can you check?" I took a sip of coffee and said, flat, "It's not a glitch." She went quiet. "You're locked out because I locked you out. It's the result of mismanagement, Amanda, and poor decisions. Yours." That set her off. "Are you serious right now? You can't just shut down the entire company like that." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "I can, and I did." She tried a different angle, sounded like she was smiling, fake sweet. "Greg, come on. Let's not make this into something ugly. Just tell me what's really going on and I'll handle it." I cut her off. "You've got 24 hours. That's it. 24 hours to what? To figure out how much of that mess you created you actually want to fix. You think you can threaten me? You're acting insane?" Click. I hung up. She called back 3 times in the next 10 minutes. I let them all go to voicemail. I wasn't going to waste another second explaining myself to a woman who thought it was okay to accept another man's proposal while I was still breathing the same air. Instead, I opened up a blank document and started writing. This wasn't about revenge. It was about setting the record straight, legally, financially, and permanently. I started drafting the restructuring terms. Step 1. Remove Amanda's executive privileges. She could stay on in name only for public appearances until I was ready to roll out the leadership transition. After that, she'd be gone. Clean break. Step 2. Formal acknowledgement of my intellectual property. Every patent, system, and product she'd use for leverage had my name on it. I included a clause requiring her to sign a legal statement affirming that I was the sole creator and architect of the core tech. Step 3. The apology. Yeah, I wanted it in writing. A full-page document attached to the agreement admitting she had knowingly taken credit for my work in press interviews, internal meetings, and investor presentations. And the final clause, my favorite, repayment of $10 million in unauthorized company withdrawals. I wasn't bluffing. I had the records, I had the timestamps, I had the authority. She'd be forced to sell her shares, liquidate personal assets, maybe even face federal scrutiny. And she'd deserve every second of it. As I typed, I felt the pressure lift. Not joy, not satisfaction, just clarity. Amanda thought I was just a man who'd get mad, maybe file for divorce, fade into the background while she played CEO with her boy toy investor. She had no idea who she married. I wasn't done yet. But I had her cornered. I stayed in my office the rest of the day. Door locked, phone silenced. The only thing moving was my mouse and the slow drip of coffee into my second mug. On the left side of my desk was a stack of printed reports, pulled from our own internal logs. On the right, copies of emails Amanda and Darren had sent to investors and board members. Most of them full of the same PR fluff. Visionary leadership, explosive growth, proprietary systems. They kept throwing around phrases like Amanda's design and Darren's strategy. But the code, the models, the performance charts, they all trace back to my work, every single one. I highlighted a section of one email where Amanda described our AI scheduling system as her brainchild. That one hit hard. I built that software on the couch at 2 a.m. while she was asleep upstairs. Spent 6 months writing every single line of code. I called my attorney, Dennis. Old school, sharp as hell. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Dennis, I need to send the board a formal notice. And I need Amanda completely cut off. How far do you want to go?" "All the way." "They got it," he said. "Send me everything you got. I'll draw up the memo, the contract amendments, and the control transfer. She won't see it coming." While Dennis got to work, I pulled up Amanda's calendar and board messages from our shared system access. She'd already started spinning her story. There were meeting invites flying out to the senior staff, emails about temporary disruptions, system bugs, and server hiccups. She even mentioned hiring a third-party audit team, probably to make it look like she had nothing to hide. Desperate. Amateur hour. What really got me, though, was the message she sent directly to me. Greg, we need to show unity in front of the board. Can you attend tomorrow's session? Darren and I will handle the presentation, but your presence will help calm nerves. No apology, no explanation. Just more manipulation. I replied with one line, "Sure, I'll be there." Let her think I was coming to play nice. By the time the sun started to set, Dennis had emailed over the full package. I read it twice, then a third time, just to let it sink in. The new contract put me in full control of Revenlore. Amanda's voting rights suspended. Her executive access revoked. Darren's pending partnership blocked. Everything she'd touched since February was now frozen under an internal audit clause I had written into our original bylaws. Buried in the back pages was the real bomb, a legal memo that detailed Amanda's personal use of company funds, her misrepresentation of IP ownership, and her breach of fiduciary duty. Line by line, Dennis had spelled out every time she'd taken credit for my work, rerouted funds without approval, and handed Darren access to files he never should have seen. It was airtight and brutal. At the end of the memo was my personal statement, signed and time-stamped. Not emotional, just facts. I wasn't interested in painting myself as the victim. I just wanted the truth on record. I sent it all to my private cloud folder and backed it up on an external drive. Tomorrow's board meeting would be her reckoning. Not because I wanted to humiliate her. That part had already been done to me. This was about setting things right and making sure she never had a chance to do it again. I walked into that boardroom at 9:58 on the dot. 2 minutes early, just enough time to feel the air shift. They were all there, 12 board members, plus Darren, smug as ever in a navy suit, and Amanda sitting at the head of the table like she still owned the place. She glanced up when I entered, and I swear her smile twitched for just a second. She didn't know which version of me was walking in. I sat down across from her and opened the folder I'd brought. 12 printed copies, one for every person at the table, one for her. No one said a word. I started passing them out, page by page. A few eyebrows raised. Darren leaned over to look at Amanda's copy. Her face stayed still, lips tight. I didn't wait for questions. "This," I said, "is a formal memo and supporting documentation detailing the misappropriation of company funds, intellectual property, misrepresentation, and executive misconduct." I looked around the room. No one interrupted. Everything in there has been verified, time-stamped, and cross-checked. Internal audit trails, system logs, original patent filings, legal ownership. Amanda sat back in her chair, arms crossed. "Greg, this isn't the time or place." "Actually, Amanda," I cut in, "this is exactly the time and place. You wanted me here to calm nerves. Let's calm them with the truth." She opened her mouth again, but Darren reached under the table and touched her arm. That told me everything. He knew they were cornered. I turned to the board. "Let's start with spending." Over the past 18 months, Amanda has withdrawn nearly $10 million in unauthorized charges under the guise of business expenses. That includes travel, personal gifts, property upgrades, and payments made to third-party contractors with no ties to this company. A few board members glanced at each other. One of them, Don Pierce, old money, barely looked up from his copy, was already highlighting lines with a pen. "And then there's the credit for our technology," I continued. "Every system this company uses to generate profit, automate operations, and scale growth was developed by me. Not Amanda, not Darren, me." I pulled out a printed certificate from the patent office and slid it across the table. "This is the original filing for our automation module. It alone increased revenue by 40% last quarter. Filed by Gregory Allen West, not Amanda West, not Amanda and team. Just me." Amanda's face was hard, jaw clenched, still didn't say a word. That was new. Darren spoke up. "Greg, if you felt overlooked, we could have handled this privately." "You mean the way you handled that proposal? On your knees in front of 200 people while I stood there holding a gift bag." Silence. No one defended them, not even Amanda. I stood up, placed both hands flat on the table, and looked every board member in the eye. "Starting today, I'm taking over full operational control of Revenlore's systems. Amanda's executive access is revoked. Her voting rights suspended pending review. Darren's advisory contract is nullified, effective immediately. I reached into my folder again and pulled out one last document. This is Amanda's exit package. It includes a severance bonus to avoid legal entanglement and a non-compete clause that bars her from working in tech for the next 10 years. Sign it, and she walks. Quietly. One of the board members, Carolyn from Finance, exhaled loudly, almost like relief. Is this legal? Dennis had prepared for that too. I handed her the attached letter from our general counsel, confirming everything was airtight. It's not only legal, I said, it's overdue. Amanda finally stood. I expected her to explode, to throw something, to yell about betrayal, but she didn't. She just stared at me, like she didn't recognize the man in front of her anymore. She picked up the document with shaky fingers and read it in silence. When she finally looked up, her voice cracked. You planned this. I nodded once. You forced it. She sat back down, didn't say another word. I turned to the rest of the board. Meeting's adjourned. You'll get official copies by the end of day. Until then, you know where to reach me. Then I walked out, didn't look back. Amanda walked out without looking at anyone. She didn't grab her bag, didn't say goodbye, just left the boardroom like she was walking through smoke, like everything around her was already gone. I stood there for a second longer, watching the door close behind her. The silence after was thick. No one rushed to defend her. No one said her name. It wasn't joy I felt. Not exactly, just relief. A pressure off my chest I didn't know I'd been carrying for years. The next few weeks were chaos, but the kind I could control. Legal filings, press statements, internal restructuring. I was in the office early every morning and stayed late. Dennis handled most of the external noise, but I still made sure to sit down face to face with every major investor. I told them the truth about who built Revenlore, about what went wrong, and about where we were going next. A few were skeptical. One guy even said, "Greg, no offense, but you don't look like a CEO." I just smiled and handed him our Q3 numbers. He shut up fast. The media caught wind by week 2. Revenlore shakeup, Amanda West. Out amid financial scandal. The silent partner. No more, the man behind the code speaks up. It spread fast. Morning shows, tech blogs, even a feature piece in Business Weekly with a title I'll never forget. The Rise of the Real Founder. Meanwhile, Amanda went radio silent. No posts, no press, nothing. Darren vanished just as quick. Rumor was he tried to pitch another startup 2 days after the fallout. Got laughed out of the room. Good. I spent my nights meeting with compliance teams and reworking our product roadmap. This time, it actually reflected what we were doing, not what Amanda wanted to sound good in interviews. No fluff, no fake slogans. Just results. One afternoon, I flew to Denver to meet a potential partner. Real sharp woman named Lisa Chan, who ran a cybersecurity firm out there. Over lunch, she said, "It's rare to see someone go through hell and still have a blueprint in their back pocket." That stuck with me. At home, the silence hit different. Our house had always been a little too clean, a little too curated. Without Amanda, it felt empty, but honest. A few days later, a letter showed up. Handwritten, folded once. No return address, but the penmanship was hers. Greg, I don't expect forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but I miss you. I miss us. I keep replaying that boardroom, wondering how I didn't see this coming. If there's any part of you that still sees me, not as CEO, not as competition, but just as Amanda, please call. Please. I'm sorry. I folded the letter back up and left it on the counter. Didn't tear it, didn't burn it. Just left it there, like a dead battery. Something that once powered everything, now completely useless. The truth was, I didn't miss her. I missed the man I thought I was with her. But that version of me was gone. And this new one. He wasn't going back. I walked into my office, locked the door behind me, and got back to work. I stopped checking the letter on the counter after a few days. Eventually, I tossed it in the drawer with old receipts and dead chargers. Let it sit there with the other junk I didn't need anymore. Work became cleaner, more honest. The fake smiles, the politics, the backdoor deals, all of it left with Amanda. The new team I brought in didn't care about headlines or fancy speeches. They cared about results, same as me. I hired two of our former interns, both sharp, both hungry, neither one afraid to challenge ideas in a meeting. I brought in Lisa Chan as a security partner, gave her a seat at the table, no strings attached. She earned it. The first few months were all about stabilization, cleaning up Amanda's mess, rebuilding investor confidence, redoing the core structure of the company without all the flashy nonsense. We trimmed the fat, shut down fake innovation projects, and doubled down on the products that actually worked. For the first time in years, we had real growth. Not smoke and mirrors growth, not look at our Instagram growth, actual, measurable, scalable success. The numbers didn't lie, and this time, I wasn't hiding behind anyone else's face. The press eventually moved on. One headline said, "West quietly leads tech turnaround." I like that. Quietly. Exactly how I wanted it. I stopped wearing the suit Amanda made me buy, started showing up in jeans and a t-shirt again, like I used to when this company was just an idea in my garage. Nobody questioned it. One afternoon, during a leadership summit, a guy from a rival firm came up to me after a panel. He shook my hand and said, "Didn't think you'd pull it off, Greg, but damn, you did." That one stuck with me. Not because I needed validation, I didn't, but because it came from someone who used to look right past me. I wasn't the quiet guy in the corner anymore. I was the one calling the shots. We started making ethical investments, community tech programs, open source education platforms, veteran retraining initiatives, stuff Amanda used to call PTR fluff. But it wasn't for attention. It was because it mattered, and people noticed. Vendors treated us with more respect. Clients stayed longer. Employees stopped walking on eggshells. Revenlore finally felt like mine. One night, after everyone had cleared out, I stood in the middle of the office and looked around. No stage furniture, no fake awards, no ego posters. Just real work getting done. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need a comeback story. I just needed the truth to finally speak louder than the noise. And now, it did. It was just after 6 on a Thursday when I heard the knock. Not the front door, the side one. The one Amanda used to sneak through when she didn't want to mess up her makeup in the wind. I opened it, and there she was. She looked smaller. Not just thinner, worn down, hair pulled back, no jewelry, no heels. Just jeans and a black sweater, standing there like she didn't know if she was allowed to speak. "Hi," she said, voice low. I didn't move. "You're not supposed to be here." "I know, She swallowed. "I needed to see you." I stepped aside without saying anything. She walked in slowly, eyes scanning the place like she was hoping something would still belong to her. In the living room, I handed her a plain white envelope. She took it, but didn't open it right away. "That's your final copy," I said. "Signed, notarized, filed. You're out of the company, permanently." She nodded once, barely. "I came to talk," she said. "You came too late." "I made a mistake," she said, her voice breaking now. "I let the attention get to me. I let Darren talk me into believing I was bigger than what we built." "No," I said. "You didn't let him. You chose to. You stood by him when he humiliated me in front of a room full of strangers. You said yes, Amanda. Don't act like you slipped." She looked like she might cry. "I didn't care. You think this was about money? Or getting back at you?" I shook my head. "This was about undoing the damage. You helped build something great. Then you turned it into a circus." "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss us." "There is no us anymore." She looked down at the envelope, finally opening it with slow fingers. She didn't read it, just stared at the pages like they might disappear. After a long silence, she looked up at me. "So that's it?" "Yeah," I said. "That's it." She turned and walked to the door, stopping once like she might say something else. She didn't. I watched her leave without a single word between us. No yelling, no begging. Just the sound of her heels on the pavement fading into nothing. When the door shut behind her, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. That part of my life was over, and I wasn't looking back.